Welcome to Leadapreneur.
Hello and welcome to the Leadapreneur podcast. We are here today with Richard and we're going to be looking at having a fascinating conversation, diving into a great ASEAN professional to discover what does it take to be truly great. We're going to be exploring his story, and one of the things that I'm personally really passionate about, diving in a little bit deeper to discover where has he spent the blood, sweat and tears. He looks so happy and smiley, but I've always learned that when you see someone who's done something really great, they've really put in the hard work, and that's what we want to surface and uncover. And then after that, we're going to be listening to his advice as we go forward into the age of AI. Mm-hmm. What does it take to be a great professional? We've also been supported. We've got some snacks. So we've got some sweets along the way.
Wow. Okay. I'll have it at the end of the show.
Yes. Okay. I might pop a few M&Ms just to
all right.
keep me going.
Nice.
Yeah. So speaking of snacks, the all important conversation
it is.
What's your favorite kind of food, Richard?
As you know, I eat a lot of different food, right? But particularly I like Chinese food, but not from Malaysia, but from China, because it's where I lived for about 10 years. Wow. So I get to experience a lot of China food.
Yes.
And every weekend, I always have to go one of the Chinese restaurants here in Kuala Lumpur.
And can you share us some passion about what is that one dish that you're like, I'm craving, that I'm missing?
As you know, China food, there's so many of them.
Yes.
But one particular food that I like is the Xinjiang food, which is the lamb skewer.
Lamb skewer?
Yeah.
Right.
Or in Chinese, they call it yang rou chua.
Ah, okay.
So it's very tasteful. I mean, it's very tasty. And if you get to taste the original one in China, I think you would love it. I think you would.
And so where are you going in China to eat this? Where can you get the best lamb skewer?
The best, because I used to be based in Beijing for 10 years, right? So technically, Beijing is a huge city.
Yes.
And you can technically go to most of the restaurants, and as long as you can see those people doing the barbecue right outside the window of their restaurants, normally those are the good ones.
Right. Yeah.
And you can find them anywhere, actually.
Yes. That kind of sort of that street food, the guy's been doing it all his life.
Exactly.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
So Beijing is a huge city, right? It's just
huge. It's unimaginable, right? How big it is. So later we can probably talk about it also.
Yeah. Oh, look, we're gonna tease your story out. You've got so many things to say. Such an interesting man with great career. But let's get to know each other a little bit better. So we've covered food. How about music? What's your favorite band or music?
Music, actually, as I was growing up, I actually listened to a lot of indie stuff. British bands from the UK.
Yes.
Not sure if you're familiar with Manic Street Preachers.
Of course. Yes. Right. Great.
And so, of course, as I grow up, my taste kind of changed as well. But of course, I still listen to those. I still have that in my Spotify playlist. But I listen to a lot of jazz nowadays, actually. Nice. So it helps to keep me relaxed, especially in the evening, the weekends. Yeah.
Some soft jazz.
Soft jazz, mixed jazz.
Yes. Yes. And you were growing up here in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur?
No, actually, I'm actually from the other part of Malaysia, East Malaysia.
Okay.
From Sabah.
Yes.
Right. Previously known as British North Borneo.
Okay.
Right. So I actually immersed myself into the history of my state as well. So I grew up there from the moment I was born until I left secondary school. Came here to KL, studied my diploma before I went to the UK. Spent about close to 3 years there, and basically after that living in Beijing for about 10 years.
You were studying in the UK?
I did.
Which city were you in?
I was in Guildford, in Surrey.
Oh my gosh, I know Guildford.
Yes.
I grew up in southwest London.
Oh, right. So not too far.
Some girlfriends in Guildford area.
Right.
Yeah.
The Southwest trains, right? Southwest trains.
Taking me back.
Yeah. So spend my university years there. I actually studied electronics engineering.
Wow.
At the University of Surrey.
Okay. Yeah. Good university. Yeah. And I know also that you've set up a historical society for Sabah.
For Sabah, that's right. Yeah. I was actually trying to solve my own problem, because as I was doing research about my state, I just couldn't find the info like easily, right? So I said, why is it so hard to find these historical articles, photos about Sabah? So as I was doing my research and everything, I said, why don't I just create a digital society using social media and basically dump everything that I found online and make it as a source for people to source those kind of information.
Wow. Yeah.
So that community has grown, of course, over the years. It has about 80,000 followers now. Yeah.
Another great risk that we can tap into. We've only done 3 things or 2, but we have to come to animal. What's your favorite animal?
Of course, I love dogs. I used to have 3 dogs, but of course they've grown and they've grown old and they've passed the rainbow bridge. But today I have 2 cats at home,
Yes.
which both my wife and I rescued, and we love them. It's like of course they're not as fun as dogs,
Yes.
but then again they actually help us, to have fun and everything.
Yeah, I've actually I've also just had an important moment in my life just the last few weeks where unfortunately one of my beautiful baby boy Tom passed away very suddenly.
Sorry to hear.
Past the rainbow bridge, as he said. It was such a
Like,
5 minutes from being alive to just passed away.
oh yeah, really?
And,
Wow.
it was a shock. I think he ate the best the vet could say was he ate a bee and it stung him in the
Oh,
throat,
yeah.
and then he got anaphylactic shock and just
Oh, no.
passed away. So,
Wow.
and then I think one of my friends was like, our pets are there with us, and sometimes these things happen to help us move forward.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
And
I
there's,
mean, things, as people say, as cliche as it sounds, right? Things happen for a reason.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, yes. I mean, I also kind of went a little bit deeper, esoteric, but I can understand how the Egyptians considered the cats as sort
Yeah,
of
that's why, right?
sacred or the sort of interdimensional
Exactly.
guides, right?
Yeah.
Help your spirit move through the journey.
True. I totally agree.
So then we've covered food, band, and animal. Now it's time for color. Do you have a
Colour.
favorite color?
Color, I think for now, as you can see, I'm wearing black t-shirt now.
Yes.
I think it's great for branding. And it's
Yes.
also easy for me to, just to pick anything. So I have lots of black t-shirts.
Right.
So I don't have to think.
Yes.
Just open my wardrobe and just take one out. And it's also great for many things, right? For design. So I think black is a good color.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, you're looking great today.
Thank you.
Yeah. You got black and white, right?
Black
Got
and
nice
white,
stuff there. Yeah.
like
Little
panda,
yin and
like a
yang.
panda.
We need some bamboo.
Bamboo, yeah. You can find us outside. There's a lot of bamboo in Sungai Buloh.
Yeah.
Buloh is bamboo.
Okay, so we got to bring the rapid fires, more rapid. So your favorite, let's do the last one. I can give you a choice. You can choose your favorite vacation destination or your favorite movie. Which one would you like?
A favorite vacation destination would be Japan.
Yes.
One thing is because it's very close to Malaysia.
Yes.
And of course the food. I like yakiniku, which is the barbecue.
Oh, I see a theme here.
Yeah,
Barbecued meat. Yeah.
I just couldn't miss that every time I go to Japan. So, and of course, I like the efficiency of the Japanese. I love trains. So every time I go to Japan, I try to experience at least once or twice on the Shinkansen, on the bullet train.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, there's also one thing related to Japan. It's as a kid, I always liked the Mitsubishi Pajero. Right.
The car.
Yeah, the
Yes,
car.
exactly,
In the UK, it's known as Shogun.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I always wanted one. So recently I bought a used Mitsubishi Pajero. It was built in 1993.
Old school.
Old school, really old school. It's a classic, right? So
Yeah.
I'm working on restoring the vehicle. So I'm documenting the story on YouTube,
Yeah. Yes.
right? So ordering the parts and everything. Of course, some of the parts I ordered from Japan. So it shows, how great story behind that, right? How the vehicle was built and everything. So that's why I like to go to Japan.
Wow, I'm so rich to speak to you. There's so many interesting things coming out, and definitely, that Japanese train experience is just unreal. The precision, the speed, the power. Because I just found out recently that in Germany, I'm embarrassed to say that now 1/3 of trains are late.
Oh, really?
I know.
So, really?
Yeah.
I remember, in Germany, it's like, it's something that people look up to, right? Like the accuracy and everything, the timeliness.
Well, I think that kind of speaks to the current, as you might say in German, zeitgeist, the spirit of the times, which is that it's changing, isn't it?
Right.
A new world is emerging, and
This is,
Yeah.
and it's happening right in this region.
yes,
Right? In this part of the
yeah,
world.
that's why I think it's so cool to be here.
Yeah.
It's really at the center
Yes.
of this new world that's emerging.
Yes.
So as we sort of move into that next phase and dive into that, let's sort of frame it with your favorite quote. So I think that gives us a good start to kind of the deeper conversation now. So what can you share about your favorite inspirational quote or platitude?
More than 10 years ago, I used to look at quotes, but eventually, as I developed my own skills and experience and views of the world, I started to write my own platitudes
Yes.
and quotes as well, which I actually share quite a lot on my social media platforms. And actually, one of them that I particularly like and it has good engagement is this one here. So I put this on my Instagram, so you can check it out. Check this out. It says, "You can never be truly ready. Not tomorrow, not next month, not next year. So just start. No more excuses."
Amen to that. Hell yeah. Absolutely. You know,
Right.
the amount of times there's this constant sense of when I meet sort of organizations, we're not ready for this yet.
Yeah,
Well, you're never going to be ready.
yeah.
So can you expand on that a little bit? What inspires you in that?
Yeah, I think it's really based on how the education system probably was set.
Mm, yeah.
The kind of mindset that you need to be really ready, you need to plan everything out. And I think that's how it was designed. And that's how humanity probably, you know, stuck in that kind of mode. So they are not able to venture out, okay, what happens if I just do this, right? I think becoming an entrepreneur, especially, you need this kind of mindset
Yes.
because you can never be truly ready,
Yes.
right? You just have to try and see what's the next step and iterate, make some improvements and improve as you go along. So I had a lot of moments of struggles, which we can talk about that later, and why I couldn't work in certain places because of that very reason.
Right.
Because people said, "Oh, we're not ready," or
Yeah.
and they're giving like 1,000 excuses on why it wouldn't work compared to looking at the possibilities of why it would work.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. so-
Beautifully said. You know, I really resonate with that as well because the sort of the tagline of Leadapreneur is "Dare to be great," and I think in that is a fundamental realization that you're never going to be. You're not like, okay, I'm ready to be great now. Let's go. That's not how the universe works, right? No. I mean, you have to be ready enough, right? There has to be
Right.
basic
Yeah,
capability.
of
But
course.
I really love what you said there as well of how that education system builds a certain fragility,
Mhm.
a certain
Yeah.
excessive fearfulness.
Correct.
And perhaps a bit of an illusion because firstly, it's creating a sense of I must first be ready, then I can do this.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
most people were never ready for anything. They got on with it,
Yeah.
whether that's
True.
business or having children
Yes.
or whatever else.
Exactly.
Right. And then secondly, as well, it's not just a sort of that sense of having a fear,
Mhm.
but you kind of become stuck in this sense of this naive belief that you can prepare,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and that's also an illusion.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, the one of the things that we need to see as we go forward into this new age is that it's about taking action. It's not
Yeah.
about being ready. It's about taking
That's
action.
true. Bias towards action, right?
Yes.
Bias towards action is very important. It's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned actually over the last 10 to 15 years.
Yes.
Once you've thought of something, you have to really have that bias towards action. Otherwise, you're just gonna stuck in that mode of overthinking, overanalyzing, and in the end, nothing happens, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of cool. Like stop thinking, start doing.
Yeah.
Right. Or
Exactly.
I think in Top Gun, the new one, I think, you know, Tom Cruise says, "Don't think, just do," something like that. Keeping it simple. So, well,
Yeah.
that takes us nicely into let's dive a little deeper into your
Sure,
story.
of course.
You mentioned 10, 15 years, but then I think you've been on it for a lot longer than that.
Yes,
So,
much
yeah.
longer.
You've got that kind of spirit into you of being action orientated
Yeah.
from, well, I guess maybe you can share with us where you'd like to begin on that story.
During secondary school years, I still remember during that point in time, always, when my dad bought my first computer ever, that actually became a distraction in some ways, but also at the same time became the fundamental and the foundation to what I'm built today.
Okay, the geek in me kind of wants to know,
Yes,
what was it?
yes,
What
yes. So of course,
computer-
I'm a
Yeah.
geek.
Yes. But what computer was it? What was it? Do you remember
It's a
that?
Pentium 33 megahertz.
All right. Yeah.
It's 16 gigabytes.
16
gigabyte.
Well, megabyte probably, right?
Gigabyte. Yeah.
Gigabyte
Yeah.
of the hard drive?
No. Oh no. The hard drive is 20 gigabyte.
Yes, yes.
The memory was 256 megabyte.
Yeah. Oh, well, that
Yeah.
was pretty big then.
Yes,
Yeah.
was still okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's good enough for those basic games, Command and Conquer,
Yes.
Red
Yeah.
Alert.
Yeah.
Right. So of course, so during that day, I did not just use them for games. As you know, you love games, right?
Yes.
Because I live in this coastal town in Sabah called Tawau,
Okay.
right in the East Coast. They call it the final frontier of Malaysia because it is actually literally is the furthest town that you can fly from KL.
Right.
Right,
Okay.
it will take you almost 3 hours to get there.
Yes, yes.
So, because at that point in time, I was passionate about my town and I wanted to promote my town to the world, right? So then I said, how do I do this? And of course, when we had the dial-up internet, with the Motorola modem. And
Yeah.
back in those days, unlike today, you can just dial in you had to dial in very hard, right?
With the whole noises, right?
With the whole noise, the sound of the modem, right? So imagine living in those kind of areas. It made it even worse. But then I said, okay, let's just do it. I mean, what do I have to lose? So I started to learn how to build websites, and basically consolidating all the information and research that I found and publish them online. It was actually working together with my best friend, and we managed to publish it, and we were surprised because we were attracting visitors from all around the world.
Yes.
People who have no idea about where Tawau was, and people who used to live in Tawau and they probably live somewhere else. And back in those days, people you used to have guest books on websites, right? So we had a lot of visitors coming to the website and said, "Wow, this is amazing! You guys created a website about Tawau and living those kind of." So that actually motivated me to do bigger things, and I saw the opportunity that we need to build something great on the internet, right? Because this is really a channel for us to be building something bigger, not just locally, but what can we do to contribute to probably the growth of humanity, for example. So that became the sort of the fundamentals. I started to spend a lot of time online, so which actually affect my secondary school grades in some ways, right? those who are
so this is like the late 90s, right? Early
yes.
2000s.
It was the mid 90s.
Mid 90s, right? Whole different world for some
different
of our
world.
viewers who
Exactly. So probably some of them were not born yet, right? During that time.
Yes.
Yeah. So that became all the fundamentals, and of course, then when I went to university, I actually studied multimedia engineering.
Yes.
So multimedia even back then was a buzzword. Malaysia was embarking on the multimedia super corridor back then.
Yes, I remember that.
Right?
Yes.
So it was the time that Malaysia wanted to embark on the IT era. And so that became also a catalyst that what I wanted to do. So when I went to university, although I studied electronics, but I did a lot of IT work. And of course, with that, I also did a lot of part-time work. Like you can't imagine the kind of things that I've done before, doing data entry, even when I was still a student, I've worked as a tour guide in the UK.
Because you're in Guildford University, right? So you're being so just to help me, so let me just recap my understanding.
Yeah.
So your passion as a teenager for your hometown led you to build a website, and that kind of helped you discover the internet.
Right.
And that there's this amazing new thing coming.
Yes. Correct.
And through that opened your horizons to realize the power of multimedia.
Yes, that's correct.
And that then led you to a decision to go, because it's not a small thing in the 90s to move from Tawau at the end of Malaysia to Guildford.
Yeah, exactly.
So you would have been in Guildford, very close to me. We were only I was in Southwest London.
That's very close.
Often in Guildford.
Probably just 20 minutes away.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, we might have sat on the same train together. I often went to Guildford.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Universities are such an interesting place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So of course, throughout the years, I've done a lot of many other things. Even when I was in Guildford, I used to work at hotels, cleaning toilets.
Wow. Okay.
Those kind of things. Working at one of the offices inside the university in the evening, like after 5, when people went off, when people left for home. So we started to work and do cleaning up the office, those kind of things. Work at Royal Mail, sorting out mails at one of the at the post office near Guildford. And even when I came back, I did a lot of more part-time work here and there. So even when I was in KL for the first time after my secondary school education, I worked at Domino's Pizza, working at the customer service center, helping processing people's orders. So bunch of things, right? There's a lot of things that I've shared this also on my social media.
I respect that so much. So, we want to kind of move the story forward because there's so much richness here, but, seeing that kind of action-orientated approach based into you. So then you kind of finished your studies in Guildford, and then what happened next? What was the next big leap?
So back then, because I had no commitment here in Malaysia, and at the same time, my sister was already based in Beijing, right, with her husband. So she said, "Hey, why don't you come here?"
Right.
Okay, said I have nothing to lose.
Yes.
I don't have any girlfriend.
This is the early 2000s, is it?
Yes, the early 2000s, right after my graduation.
Right.
So after I came back from the UK, I stayed about 1 month in Malaysia, and then I fly straight to Beijing. Without actually the day that I arrived Beijing, I don't know, the day I arrived, and then the next day was I went for an interview at the British Embassy. I still remember.
Right.
They were hiring an IT person or something, but I wasn't qualified, so I did not get the job. But eventually, I was able to find work full time at one of the international schools.
Yes.
One of the biggest international schools in China, actually. So I was doing IT work, doing help desk, or they call it hell desk, right? Because people that you have to deal with on a daily basis, people are frustrated, especially, people don't go to the help desk when there's no problem, right?
Right,
They
sure.
only find you when there's a problem.
Yeah.
Right,
And they're
right.
not
So-
happy about it. Usually.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
They're like grumpy and everything. So you have to develop that skills, that interpersonal skills. How do you handle those kind of situation?
Right.
Which I feel is very important, especially for businesses also. So that actually I picked up a lot of skills there. But of course it has evolved everything. I work at a call center, also work as an database administrator. So I did a lot of work, especially in the IT field. But one breakthrough that actually happened when towards the few years after, after working in Beijing, I was still in Beijing actually, when I started to venture into a real entrepreneurship.
Is this a big jump for you?
It was a
Yeah.
breakthrough actually.
Okay. Yeah.
It
Let's,
was a
let's expand
breakthrough.
on that. Yeah.
Which I don't normally talk a lot, but I've shared this sometimes also. So the backstory to that was, back in those days, you remember those black and white iPod with the
Yes.
scroll wheel?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I had it. I bought a second hand from somebody because one day it broke down, and of course, like many of us, we would check on YouTube how to fix it, right? So found a solution. So the problem was the hard drive inside,
Yes.
the 20 gigabyte hard drive. So being in China, it was relatively easy to order the parts.
Right. of
Right,
course,
it was
yeah.
very easy.
Yeah.
But Apple was not officially available back then. They have not established their official presence, so there was no place that you can go to fix it.
Yeah.
So I fixed my own problem, found a solution, and said, hey, since I'm looking for this service, maybe other people are looking for this service. Because I was trying to do side hustle because living in Beijing was getting more and more expensive, right? The cost of living was going up and the salary wasn't able to catch up. So I need to find a way to get more income, to diversify my income. So I offered the service, and one day, I posted it on a local classified that targets the English speaking audience. So the same day, an American guy contacted me and said, "Here, I have 2 iPods that needs fixing." I said, "Okay, let's meet." I said, "I don't have a workshop. I don't have a shop. Are you okay to meet at one of the coffee shops?" So he said, "Okay." So we met. And I look at it, pretending know what's the problem.
Oh yes.
Right.
Yeah. Done.
So I need to bring this home. So he was said, "Okay, no problem." So
Yes.
we exchanged notes, fixed them.
Yeah. So he gave you his iPods.
Yeah, he gave.
That was a
me-
lot of
yeah,
trust, right?
So a lot of trust.
Yeah,
So
right.
so hopefully I don't know what got into him, but he trusted me. So
Yes.
I brought them home and fixed them. And I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity to get more income. So I built a website. With that experience of building websites, I built a website with the intention to just focus on the local Beijing market.
Yeah.
Eventually, for some reason, that extended into China and extended all around the world because I was sharing tips on how to jailbreak your iPhone and everything.
Wow.
So my website became one of the leading websites for fixing iPhones, a go-to website for fixing iPhones. I was literally getting customers from all around the world. So I was doing a one-person e-commerce business, doing the social media, tech support, fixing. So people would sometimes ship their iPhones to me,
Yes.
and I got them fixed. And sometimes I outsourced them to my partner in China because, especially the logic board, I'm not able to fix it back then.
Yes.
So they had to handle it, and basically I outsourced to them, and I ship it back to my customers. And I got customers from all around the world. So that became a breakthrough, right? A huge breakthrough in my life, which
And one of the things I want to ask you then, so this seems like a sort of, in the blood, sweat, and tears category, this seems
It
like a lot of
was.
sweat equity.
right.
You had to work. How many hours do you think you were working, and
It was
what
not
drove you to do it?
because I was providing a solution,
Yes.
right? I feel that if people cannot find that solution and I'm able to help, why don't I just continue? Because everybody wins, right? So
Yes,
this is
yeah.
not it's not a zero-sum game. So everybody wins. I get, money. I get paid. People got their phones fixed. So why not? And at the same time, I can build my skills even
Right.
more often.
Right.
So that actually became sort of the motivated as well.
And can you give some insight into, how hard were you working? How many hours are you putting in? Are you doing the 996? Are you doing more? Are you doing?
I think more. I think literally it's like 20, not 24/7, but I think because you have to make sure that the website is working properly. You have to keep the content up all the time. So technically it's like 7 days a week, right?
Of course, there's no break, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So even like, for example, a lot of the local customers who were based in Beijing, it's like after work, I said, can we meet at 6? Can we meet at 7?
Because this is still your side hustle?
Yeah, my side hustle, right? Because I was still working full time at the school.
Yes.
So I go home like 10, 11 sometimes, depends where I go to. So that was actually the breakthroughs that I have to go through, right? So that was
okay.
And of course, before that, there were the tears as well, because at one point in time, I actually lost a job. There was one point in time in Beijing, I joined a company. It was a British company. I joined a company. Basically, it was a tech startup. Joined them for about as a manager, and after about 2 months, they said, "We're not doing too good. We have to let you go."
Right.
So there was not enough time for me to have a continuity at that point in time, and I still remember having my last 100 yuan in my pocket.
That's it.
That's it.
You don't know, zero in the account.
Yeah.
Nothing.
At that point in time, because I actually bought.
And that's about $20, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, roughly about that.
You've got $20 in your life.
Yes.
How old are you at this point?
I was about 26, 27, roughly.
Right. So
because I think being young, I was also reckless at the same time. I bought a car.
Yeah.
I bought a car,
okay.
right? So
money in, money out.
Yeah,
right?
money in,
right.
money out.
Right.
So it's like, okay, this is gonna be good. So I'm gonna drive the car.
Yeah.
So of course, when that happened, so it really crushed me at a certain point, right? So I had to figure out as well, like.
But what did that feel like? You're sitting there. Are you in I kind of want to try and imagine this moment for us and our audience.
Yeah.
You've got, is it literally 100 yuan note? You're sitting there having a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And you're just wondering, what was that like?
No, it was like, I still remember, like, okay, so how do I survive for the next few days? Right. With this, survive, especially. But I think I was thankful enough because I had a good network of friends.
Right.
So they actually introduced me to some jobs that I can quickly take up real quick, at least do some part-time job with them, and just to supplement the income while I try to find something more stable. Right. So but actually that got me into thinking, said, I don't want to be in this kind of same situation ever again.
Yeah.
So I need to be finding ways. How do I always find ways to supplement my income? Yes. Not relying on just one income source.
And what was the sort of the dominant emotion? Was it fear?
It was
worry?
Of course, all of those.
Did you cry? Was it like?
I think almost went into tears because I had a bunch of my own electronic gadgets that I have to let go. I still remember, went to the streets, actually, to the roadside, and displaying my items and trying to sell them.
Literally selling like, hey, would you want to buy
my mouse and some of my keyboards, those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
So it was tough. But again, because I had to go through that moment.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the way of the universe telling, okay, you have to go through this so that you're able to build something better in the future.
Absolutely.
So
speaking of that, what was then the next big leap for you? Mm-hmm. So to take you to where you are today, so you've gone from that and your success today. What was in the next, let's say, over the next 10 year period?
10 years.
How did that leap forward?
So of course, so that, as I said, the breakthrough of having the iPhone repair business was really good. So that actually helped me to be able to build up my savings and to return back to Malaysia.
Yes.
So I returned back, after spending about 10 years living in Beijing, got back here, and maybe I got a bit too naive because I haven't been really back as, to settle down here since I left Malaysia for the first time, right?
Yeah.
So I thought I want to run a couple of things, run my own business, but it was not that easy because I did not know anyone except for my property agent who helped me to find a house as I was returning back to Malaysia back then. And, then I said, okay, I must work first. So literally my first job here was working at a government agency. So that government agency was back then was responsible to look into the startup ecosystem in Malaysia.
Yeah. Okay.
It was called Magic.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Magic.
yes,
So
I
you're
know Magic,
probably
yes.
familiar. So that was actually quite funny as well. How did I get that job? Was just one day I was browsing through Facebook and I saw this, one of their Facebook posts, or they were probably pushing ads on that. So, hey, this is quite interesting what they're doing. It's somewhat relatable to me because it relates to entrepreneurship, which I used to do. So, and coincidentally, they were trying to find a program manager. I saw the website. So I applied, nothing happened. So I knew back then the CEO, the founding CEO was Cheryl Yeo. So I said, maybe what if I email directly the
Yes.
CEO? I did not have the email, right? But I was playing a guessing game,
Yes.
doing multiple combinations of a name, like the first
So you're
name,
just
dot last
guessing.
name, just guessing, right? Like 5 or 6, 7 different combinations.
Yeah.
So thankfully it went through. She replied, and then the rest, went to for the interview and managed to join them. So
Yeah.
through that, it gave me a good opportunity to build my network. Although nothing happened at that point in time, but it helps to understand the whole entrepreneurship ecosystem, not just in Malaysia, but throughout the region as well.
Yeah. And how did
Yeah.
you then take that forward? So that was in maybe mid 2015. Is that what are we talking?
That was around that time when I joined Magic. Then, of course, after that, I joined another government agency that looks after the development of Cyberjaya.
Yes.
Always passionate about that place. Then joined a tech company, and as I was working in those companies, I started to push out stories on social media because I feel social media is a great place. It's a great tool to build a brand, whether it's
Yeah.
for you or it's for companies. So I just use it as a platform to share stories about entrepreneurs and everything. So at one point in time, my community grew up to the point that I felt maybe it was the right time to just start something. So fast forward to today, I run a social media agency today.
Yeah.
So it's almost about 3 years now. So what we do is we help our partners grow their social media presence.
Yes.
Right. Because that's how it is today. Social media, it's the attention, right? So that's what happened basically.
From iPhone repair business in China with 100 yuan left in your pocket
Right.
to social media agency and a big smile here in
Right.
2025 in Malaysia and KL. Gosh, what a story. And I think what stands out to me is that continuous action orientated bias. You're kind of following your path,
Right.
leaping across domains.
Yes.
Right. That's a really courageous thing to do.
Yes.
Not limiting yourself in that way.
Exactly.
And so when you kind of, and then one of the things I really like about your LinkedIn profile is you call yourself the chief storyteller.
Yes, that's the
that.
title, right?
Yes.
That's how
Well, why do you choose that for yourself? Why?
right.
I also believe in the power of storytelling, and
Yes.
I'd love to hear
Right.
how you see this.
Okay, so I've been doing a lot of content on my social media platforms, and I experimented a lot of things. I saw what worked, what didn't work. So actually, what happened about 3 years ago? 3 years ago, I started to experiment storytelling on one of my social media channels. It's actually on X or on Twitter.
Yes.
I said, how do I, firstly, I want to grow my audience. Back then I had about 900 followers. I said, how do I grow my Twitter audience? Because it got stuck for a long, long time. I just couldn't figure out how to grow it. Then I said, why don't I share an interesting story about a Malaysian that people probably have not talked about? So just one fine day, I got the inspiration to write a story about this person. So I was just being curious. I said, can I find somebody, a Malaysian who probably works at NASA? With those keywords I Googled, I actually found an article on NASA's website. In fact, there was a Malaysian who works at NASA. She's been working there over the last 30 plus years since she was still an intern. And today she's the deputy chief technologist at NASA.
The
Deputy chief technologist.
deputy chief technology, okay.
Which is a very important position. So what they do is they build devices that gets mounted on spacecrafts,
right, okay.
and it gets sent to Jupiter and Mars and all
Wow.
the far-flung
Wow,
places. So it was a very important, it was a very interesting story. I said, I'm going to turn this into a story and put on my social media. So I experimented on X, on Twitter, make threads, and I was surprised. It went viral.
I think I was at the end of that chain,
Yeah.
hearing about that story,
Right.
and I think a lot of people got very inspired and
Yeah.
excited to hear about that.
Yeah. So I
So
said,
that came from you doing that
If
Like
it's
connecting
a
the dots,
first,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
If you saw it for that for the first time, yes.
Yes.
So I said, hey, this actually worked.
Mm.
So I've been digging a lot of more Malaysian stories, and for the next few months, my followers on Twitter was growing like what, up to like 20,000 followers in a very short time frame. It was before Elon actually took over. So the algorithm was still relatively friendly. So I was able to grow really quick.
Yes.
I said maybe this is a great way to help other entrepreneurs and businesses to grow.
Yes.
I said I'm gonna help them through social media. So that's what inspired me to start my own social media agency to really help the SMEs to share their stories to the world. Because I feel business owners, especially in SMEs, right? These are the people who change the community around them, the society, even the economy and the country, right? So I feel we need to be highlighting them more, even more often now, because through this significant contribution that they have done for everyone.
And I
So,
think what's also great about
right.
this is you're bringing these positive stories.
Right.
There's often a certain cynicism and negativity that creeps in, isn't there?
Exactly.
We were talking about that, right?
Because
Yeah.
negativity sells, right? Because media, they have to sell those kind of stories
yeah.
for some reason. So I think I'm able to help neutralize it in some ways, at least bring some fresh perspectives of things. Yeah.
And that perhaps takes us sort of the last bit of the podcast here, which is
Mhm.
based on this extraordinary journey
Right.
from the young man who's passionate about his hometown in Tawau,
Mhm.
just wanted to get his project on this
Right.
thing called the internet, right? I'm just imagining you on the dial-up in Tawau.
Yes.
Right? That's
And gets disconnected every time when somebody calls in.
yeah. So via Guildford through Beijing back to Malaysia
Mhm.
again. Looking at that story, and as we go forward into this age of AI,
Right.
what do you think when you look at yourself and these stories? What would be a lesson you think you've learned and some
Mhm.
guidance that you give to yourself and our
Right.
audience
Right.
to go forward confidently into this
Mhm.
age?
Right. We live in a very interesting time because imagine 20 or 30 years ago, if you want to create an opportunity, you have to go to a good school, you have to have a good grades, good network,
Yes.
and you have to be based in cities. And today, what's really stopping you is just you. You have the internet. It is just you actually. So I think that actually should become a reminder for everyone that the opportunity is already in front of you, whether you want to take it or not. And in this age of AI, people like us, every person becomes even more relevant because AI, of course, at this point in time, they're a great tool to help us to become more efficient and to help us with our work. But ultimately, people will not follow AI.
Yes.
They want to follow people.
Yes.
People want to follow people with perspectives of things, right? Because then your perspective of things are really what makes you you. It is your personality, your identity, your upbringing, your stories, and these are the things that resonate with people. AI would be able to help you in so many things, to give you some ideas, but at the end of the day, it is what you view the world is what people want to follow or
Yes.
what people want to get inspired with.
The AI is kind of the
Right.
super tool, but you're the
Yes.
wielder of the tool.
Exactly.
And so you're kind of, and what I'm taking away from this is almost, a platitude I have in my mind
Mhm.
for a long time is sort of, I am the biggest limiting factor in my life.
Yes, that's true.
Right. It's the way I think of myself, the way I
Right.
think about what's possible.
Yep.
It's really what's the constraint. It's
Mhm.
not the lack of money. It's not the
No.
lack of resources.
Yeah.
And especially today where
Mhm.
in a post-global world, there is technology, there's availability,
Yes.
right? It's just about, are you willing to do that difficult thing
Right.
to go beyond this idea of just trying to be ready, because you're never really ready.
Nope.
You just have to dare
Yes.
to take that leap.
Exactly.
And so, so as we come to the conclusion here, what would be your concluding remarks and advice? Let's say you would be someone who's looking to the next decade.
Right.
What would you sort of say? This is the thing I encourage you to look to become, to develop yourself.
I personally think it's about sharing your own story because I feel everyone born into this world, will have their own story, and you have your purpose in this world for sure,
Yes.
whether you realize it or not.
Yes. That's why you're
Right,
here, right?
right. Everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
Always
Yes.
look from that perspective.
Yes.
And the thing is, people want to learn from people who are just a few steps ahead of you, not from people from Elon Musk or people who have done it. They are like a million steps away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's why
Yes.
when you share your stories, people feel relatable. And if it's a good story, then people will feel inspired to do better things, to become the better versions of themselves. So I guess that's what I'm doing today. And I'm surprised. Like, I did not imagine, even up to the point, up to this moment, people messaged me and said, "Can you please say a few things to inspire me or to keep me going?" And I did. I just gave them a few uh, pointers and some guidance sometimes, and I said, "Oh, thank you. I'm gonna print this. I'm gonna post this on the wall." And I felt that is something so powerful that I did not ask for this, right? But because I've been sharing that story and these things from my own perspective, my own learnings, people feel inspired. And I feel everyone in this world has a purpose to do that as well. If you have the realization and willing to do it, and more importantly, to be really, really consistent about it.
Believe in yourself. Live your story in truth.
Right.
You don't need to be the superhero.
No,
It's okay to be a few steps ahead and inspire those around you,
exactly.
and then serve that with discipline, consistency.
Yes.
Right.
That easy actually.
No magical formula.
No magical moment.
Keep turning up.
Exactly. And keep it simple. I was like keeping things simple, even the stories that I tell.
Right.
Right.
Well, on that note, it's been a real pleasure to have this fantastic conversation with you.
Likewise, thank you, Yang, for the opportunity to share my thoughts with you, and of course the audience.
Yes. Well, speaking of the audience, thank you for joining us and coming this far. We hope that this has inspired you. You've learned some lessons about what it really takes to be great in the age of AI. We've heard an extraordinary story of a young man who followed his passions. And I think that perhaps is something that stands out to me. It's about listening to your passion, your heart. You didn't have it figured out in the beginning. No. You just follow that
just
heart
follow.
passion.
You won't be able to figure out. You have to
Yes.
just keep going,
Yes.
and you will find that path.
Yeah. And I think that's something like, stop trying to be ready. Stop trying to have it all figured out. These are fear-based approaches and they cannot succeed. You must just leap into action and dare to be great. So on that note, that brings us to an end. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
And that's it.
It's a pleasure, man.
Pleasure.
Cheers.